Welcome to Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio, sponsored by Earthx, the world's largest environmental experience, and also sponsored by Natural Awakenings magazine. Live your healthiest life on a healthier planet. Now, here's your host, Bernice Butler.
Welcome to Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio today. We are now in our third season, and we remain probably more excited than ever to continue to help you explore and understand the unbreakable relationship between your health and the health of the planet. Here we look at the hottest topics related to our environment and its sustainability and how they affect your health and wellness. Here, issues like climate change, plastic pollution, extreme weather events, and others will meet up with everyday impacts like allergies and asthma, digestive issues and gut health, cancers, lung, heart issues, and more. So listen in today as we interview experts for today's show on Earth Day 2022, Investing in Our Planet. Now, we've dedicated the entire month of April for Earth Day and its theme this year of investing in our planet. And we're having really interesting conversations this month to help you explore and understand the significance of Earth Day and how it is helping to drive transformation in our lives and our world, really, to where we care as much about the health of our planet as we do about our own health. And, of course, Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio, our whole reason for being with you all weekly is to help understand the environmental issues we're facing today and how they are unbreakably connected to our health. April really has now finally become synonymous, the entire month, with Earth Day. Again, the whole month, not just the day of Earth Day, which is always April 22nd. And, of course, that day, officially, April 22nd, marks the anniversary of the birth of the modern environmental movement that really started in 1970. The Earth Day movement was instigated by people from the ground up, everyday folks like you and I, as really most environmental accomplishments today still ultimately are, of course, after a very, very long slog that has initially been instigated by a one person or some groups of committed citizens. And, of course, we should all use this Earth Day and our activities to thank them. Now, again, back in 1970, in the spring, Senator Gaylord Nelson created Earth Day as a way to kind of force this issue onto the national agenda. Then some 20 million Americans demonstrated in different U.S. cities. And then in December 1970, Congress finally authorized the creation of a new federal agency to tackle and regulate our environmental issues. And that was the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, of course, the EPA. And that was the manifestation, perhaps, of the first greatest accomplishment for the first Earth Day and why we continue to celebrate it each year. And it does appear that year after year, many more people are learning about the care and the feeding of our planet Earth, and many are hearing the call. So this Earth Day 2022, we want to dig into its significance this year. And this month, we're talking to folks from all around the country, from some of our country's most venerable non-government organizations, or NGOs as we call them. And these are organizations that are, again, not affiliated with the government, but they care deeply and they act intentionally on behalf of our planet Earth, and they make a difference, and they are making a difference. And in our conversations with the non-governmental organizations who work on environmental issues this month, we're exploring what this year's Earth Day means to them and how they are investing in our planet. And hopefully, you too can identify a way or two or three or some ways you can invest in our planet, as each of us indeed can do, in our own spheres, starting, of course, with our own homes and our workplaces. All of us can invest in the planet when we do something such as use renewable energy, drive an electric vehicle, buy local produce, don't traffic in plastic bags, and use plastic containers, and on and on and on. I think you get it. Each of us can make a difference. So today, we have here with us Michael Fletcher, and Michael is from Earthx. And, of course, Earthx bills themselves as the world's largest environmental experience. And, of course, they are very near and dear to us here at Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio, because Earthx was indeed our founding sponsor 2.5 years ago. And their support enabled us to start this weekly broadcast. And then we, in turn, have been one of their most steadfast supporters and perhaps sponsors, starting with their very first expo called Earth Day Dallas back in 2011. And then I think the next year or so, it grew to Earth Day Texas, and now it is worldwide and international as Earthx. In fact, Earthx is the institutional anchor for the green environmental sustainability community here in North Texas and increasingly beyond that. And Michael Fletcher has recently joined them, and Michael is a serial entrepreneur and somewhat of a startup guru. And he has been a shareholder and a senior executive for a radio station group, an advertising agency, video production company, and 3 television networks. And Michael is committed to philanthropy, and he serves on several boards for nonprofits. He's previously served on the board for the Grammy Awards, as well as the JPS Hospital Foundation. And again, he's recently joined Earthx, and we are so glad he could carve out time to be with us. And we're also excited to get to see Michael's handprint on the Earthx organization as it continues to be a strong institutional anchor for, again, that green, environmental, and sustainability sphere and beyond. So welcome, Michael. And did I get everything right?
You got it just perfect, Bernice. And thank you. I'm excited to be here with you on Healthy Living, Healthy Planet.
Great. Well, now, Michael, again, we know that Earthx has been around now for 11 years, since 2011, starting again with Earth Day Dallas. As with all of us, during the pandemic, you all have also pivoted. And, of course, you yourself, again, are relatively new there. So will you tell us about the new or the now direction of Earthx and where they're going and kind of bring people up to speed on things?
Yeah, absolutely. And as you mentioned, the organization had its first event in 2011. Our founder, Trammell Crow, has decided to give his life and certainly a fair amount of capital to trying to save the planet. And over the years, it evolved. In 2019, it was the largest single green gathering in the world, with approximately 180,000 people attending here in Dallas, which is remarkable that would happen in Dallas, right? And then COVID struck, and just weeks before the 2020 event, they had to cancel the event and go virtual. And that meant, they started streaming the conferences and using the internet to get all the programming out. And that led to the idea that maybe there was a place for Earthx TV. So I met Trammell Crow in, I think, November or December of 2020. And I was in the process of selling a television network that I had co-founded called Ride TV. It was an equestrian-themed channel. And so I started talking with Trammell about Earthx and Earthx TV. And by June of 2021, we sold the TV network, and I pivoted over to start helping Trammell on Earthx and Earthx TV. And, I'm now the CEO of the organization. And so our focus today, in answer to your question, is we are still very, very focused on being a global environmental organization that gives back and creates impact in local communities. And we're doing that on a global scale. But we also decided to really focus on Earthx TV. And instead of it being just a streaming product, which today you can go to your app store, you can download Earthx TV. It's free. It's available on every app store. It's on Fire Stick. It's on Apple TV. It's on all the devices. But instead of just being a streaming channel, we also are standing it up on traditional cable and satellite. So very soon, we believe that will be available on cable operators like Charter, Comcast, all of those folks, as well as satellite, Dish, DirecTV. And I've got, something really exciting is that recently I made a trip to London, and we've been working on launching Earthx TV in the UK. And we actually are going to launch it in August in the UK, and we'll reach 99% of all the homes in the UK with Earthx TV. So the television network is probably the newest thing that we're doing that can have a global impact.
Now, how are you able to reach, for the most part, almost all of the UK market?
Yeah, it's really neat. The market there is very different than here. A lot of it is regulated by the government, and they have, public channels, and then they have privately owned channels. So it's a different model there for being able to launch. But the main reason is because our content and message today is on point with what many governments feel and think. In the UK, they're very focused on the environment. And so, give you an example, the largest or second largest operator there is Sky, and Sky is a big cable and satellite operator in the UK. And their operation is so focused on the environment that they have this huge campus with tens of thousands of employees in these gigantic buildings, and not 1 ounce of waste goes to the garbage dump. They compost, they recycle everything, and you're talking about a huge, huge corporation. And so for us, when we came in with Earthx TV, we all of a sudden had Sky, a company called FreeSat, Freeview, Virgin Media, all of the cable and satellite operators there said, yes, we'll launch you. So it just happened, and we're really excited about it.
It seems to be contributory to, does seem to be their forward-leaning, perhaps a lot more than us, in terms of being environmentally sensitive and intentional about things they do as it relates to the climate and climate change and the environment.
Absolutely, Bernice. I mean, they, as a country, are, as you said, very forward-leaning into saving the planet. And part of it's regulation, but a lot of it is just learned behavior now, to where it's not just the young people that are saying we need to save the planet, but you have adults that actively get engaged. You'll see, for instance, a lot more electric cars there. And you'll see a lot more regulation on how much gas cars can even come into a city like London. They have certain days they can come in, certain days they can't. So it is much more conscious there than it is here.
We have usually several guests a year from the UK. We get guests from Austria, and that's because we go looking for experts, and
right.
That's where they are. Their experts are there for the very same reasons you are now there, that they've opened arms and said, come on in. They are just much more forward-leading. And we're going to go to break. I'm actually about a minute behind going to break, so we will be right back on the other side of the break with Michael Fletcher with Earthx to continue this very interesting conversation. Thank you, Michael. We want to give a shout-out now to our sponsors. That is Natural Awakenings, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex Magazine, the Green, Healthy, and Sustainable Living Authority for the DFW Metroplex and North Texas communities. Print issues of Natural Awakenings can be found in all Whole Foods markets, natural grocers, central markets, sunflower shops, and many, many other locations, as well as available free for download online at nadallas.com. Check them out. Our other sponsor is North Haven Gardens, serving the Metroplex since 1951, the most respected horticultural establishment in North Texas, offering gardening and plant education, concierge services, DIY classes, gifts, and more. Check them out at nhg.com. And our other sponsor is Lynn Dental Care, practicing dentistry for over 38 years with a holistic approach looking at the whole body. Specializing in periodontics, Dr. Lynn is board certified by the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. Check them out at lynndentalcare.com. Thank you, sponsors. Welcome back to Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio. Back to today's show on Earth Day 2022, Invest in Our Planet. And we're back with Michael Fletcher, CEO of our own Earthx. And he is talking to us about what Earth Day 2022 is about for them and what they're doing. And Michael was just telling us about how they are expanding their streaming services, which has really been a benefit of the pivot, the COVID pivot, is when they discovered, this is a thing. Yeah. So, Michael, tell me, though, I know that Trammell likes and is committed to the expo. That's when and how he got started with Earthx, really. Yeah. As all of us are here in North Texas, green, environmental, and sustainability community, we look forward to it. again, not just here in North Texas, but there are people from all around the world at these expos. So could you tell us a little about this year's expo? How will it be the same and how will it be different?
Yeah, so, we definitely want to give North Texans and others who are visiting the opportunity to experience what they're used to at Earthx, and that is exposition. So we have like over 300 booths that will be there with different vendors with a lot of really great sustainable products. We'll have about 14 conferences that we're holding that are on things like environmental law, energy, oceans, islands, things like that. Something unique we're doing this year is at COP26 in Scotland, we signed agreements with the United Nations to focus on 3 specific initiatives. So we're going to have the United Nations present at our event, and one will be a focus on family offices for investment in sustainable companies. Another will be what's called YOUNGO, which is the United Nations Youth Outreach Program, and we're going to have 50 to 100 UN youth ambassadors with us, and we'll be holding a banquet and speeches and a conference. And we're also going to have the UN Media Summit. Every year, the UN Media Summit is held, and they bring together different media organizations to talk about how the media can contribute to sustainability. And they weren't able to hold it in person in 2020 or 21. So this is the first year in person again, and they're holding it at our event. So we're having that. We have actually visitors from the Ukraine who are flying in and going to be with us. We have folks from Armenia coming in. We have prime ministers from the islands. They just had that volcano not too long ago underground the ocean that affected Tonga. We have a delegation from Tonga coming in. So people can go to the website, earthx.org, and get all of the information on the conferences, the expo. The expo is free, open to everybody, and it's going to be just a great event.
So the conferences or the summits, are they there at the convention center during the time the expo is going on?
They are. So they start on the 20th next week, the conferences, and they will run through Sunday. And then the expo begins on the 22nd on Earth Day, and it will run through the weekend.
Okay. So, and people can find on the website the times and the locations of all the conferences.
Yes, that's right.
Very good. Now, Michael, what do you envision the future of the expo to be? Will it, just kind of go on as we know it? Are you going to start doing a statewide expo, leave us here in North Texas, or what do you envision?
Well, I can't imagine us moving the annual event from Dallas. This is, Tramel's home, and it's such a part of Dallas that we'll always plan to do it here. But we also want to extend our reach and in local impact and be able to include more people. So we're planning additional events in other places. Like, for instance, when we launch Earthx TV in the UK, we will hold a large gathering over in the UK. And the focus might be, different, of course, because it'll be the UK. We're also planning an event on the West Coast that I can't give too many details about, but it's going to be very exciting. It's going to involve the motion picture industry and other stakeholders in media who want to make a sustainable difference, and we're going to hold that in LA. And, as we look at the future, we'll add some regional events, but this will always be the big daddy.
Good deal. That makes us happy. As I said, you're our institutional anchor. I think you're the institutional anchor in Texas, and increasingly, certainly the country in terms of the breadth of the activities that you all engage in and the impact that they have the potential to make and the impact that they indeed are making. So I think there is a lot of room for a lot of that. And that's been exciting for me this month, and we have one more show on that, where I do have the privilege to interview organizations such as this that are really making that difference in helping all of us get to the place that we need to be. So, Michael, what does this year's Earth Day theme, Invest in Our Planet, mean to you and Earthx?
Every individual, and you mentioned this at the top of the show, every individual can make a difference and invest in the planet in their own way. Some people do it with raised gardening, and grow their own vegetables. Some folks can afford to get an electric car. Other folks are very conscious of buying sustainable products, as you mentioned, not investing in plastics and things like that. So for Earthx and the Expo, we believe that really kind of underpins all of that. If you're a consumer and you come to the Expo, you'll see all these different products that maybe you hadn't thought about and that are affordable. Or you go to a conference and you find out, how kids can get involved through education. So for us, every single day, a person can invest in the planet. And what better investment is there than investing in the planet?
Indeed, because as we like to say here at Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio, that investment in the planet is a self-investment in your health.
Absolutely.
They are unbreakably connected. And that's our goal, as it is to y'all's too, is to get people to understand these things so they can see that, it doesn't have to be a big earth-shattering movement or earth-shattering set of activities for them to invest in the planet and for them to make a difference. That's why I was excited about this theme, but I thought, okay, we got to really connect the dots and let people get it, that we can all do something. You go pick up the trash and you find a little kid says, "Oh, I'm investing in the planet."
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. And that's the great thing, I think, about what we're doing. We're a nonprofit organization. Our TV network's a nonprofit TV channel. But, we're investing real money in creating TV shows. And as you know, Bernice, that's not an inexpensive proposition. We just acquired 400 new hours of content that will start airing after April. And that's millions of dollars that we've invested in this content. But it's for a good purpose, to inspire and inform people of how they can make a difference and invest in the planet.
It really is. And so as you look at Earthx mission and goals, have you all looked at that, I guess, recently or re-looked at it to have a more specific or intentional intersection with this year's goal of invest in the planet? Have you said, okay, here's our mission, here's our goal, this is what we're going to do this different or do more of this or less of that to get on track?
Sure. Yeah, I think the biggest pivot and opportunity to really make a difference is by the successful launch of the television network. And we're going to be filming so much of the Expo, and we're going to be streaming a lot of it. We'll be offering up on video on demand platforms. The reason is because the television network can become a revenue generator for Earthx, which helps us generate a lot more capital to put back to work out in the communities. And that's the biggest difference, because Earthx has always just depended on private donations, mainly from Trammell Crow.
Yeah.
And now there's this opportunity to have this other vehicle, the television network, that can generate revenue in millions of dollars that, as I said, can be put back into the communities. So that's the biggest difference. We're using the Expo this year to kind of officially launch that effort.
That is so cool. And I'm glad that you are very good at explaining things, and I'm glad that you did that, because for me, and I think for many others, it gives them just a real clear sense of y'all's vision and what you're doing and how you're doing it. And particularly, as you said, how it comes back to our theme of investing in the community. Because Earthx is typically an investor, a sponsor, a supporter of every event in this green environmental sustainability sphere in this region, and I know the state really, and again, increasingly on the world stage.
Yeah, if I can share with you one interesting thing about that, Bernice, is what we recently did is, so I mentioned the Tonga volcano. Well, there is a rugby team that is out of New Zealand. It's a new team, and most of the players are from Tonga, a large part of them, I should say, but most of the players are very environmentally engaged. And when the volcano happened, it affected a lot of them. So Earthx decided to take some money away from our programming budget and support this team. So we gave them a large amount of money to sponsor the team for the season, which help them survive and get in. And every message they make is about saving the planet. So you're right. We not only focus here locally, but more and more it's globally.
And again, you've made it really clear in your explanation. What you've done is, I like to say, connect the dots. We're going to go to break now, and we'll be right back on the other side of the break, again with Michael Fletcher from Earthx. Welcome back to Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio, to today's show on Earth Day 2022, Investing in Our Planet. And we are back with Michael Fletcher, CEO of our own Earthx. And he's really sharing with us some of the work that they've done in the community, in the country, internationally, that many of us are not aware of. And he's really making us a lot smarter in terms of what they do and again, that transforming impact that they're having. So thank you again for making time to be with us today, Michael.
Very welcome. Happy to be here.
Now, we were just about to talk about your background, of course, is in film, TV, and this is, as you said, it's going to be kind of the rollout for your TV networks and that whole operation at the upcoming Earth Day Expo next weekend.
The television network, Earthx TV, as I mentioned, it's presently available. You can go to the App Store, download it. It's got 24/7 feed and also video on demand. But you're correct. We plan on officially unveiling it as a traditional cable and satellite channel next week.
And again, I want to go back over so people understand when you say cable and satellite, what does that mean to us out here watching?
Yeah, sure. That means, your Charters, your Comcast.
Spectrum, AT&T?
Charter is now called Spectrum. But yeah, in fact, AT&T is participating in our event, as is Charter. And so we're working on distribution deals with them. We cannot announce launch dates yet, but we're working on them. And then the satellite would be Dish and DirecTV.
And so that means just about availability for everyone, quite a few people.
Right. There are a lot of small cable operators across the United States, but we'll work on them one by one for sure.
I gotcha. And again, that really is exciting, that ordinary people in their everyday lives will be able to go and consume information about these important environmental issues, see who's doing what, and they'll be able to just consume that as they're couch surfing.
Absolutely. Our content, we try to cover everything from forest management to wildlife conservation, oceans, energy, you name it. And the thing about cable is that most folks don't know this, but like if you, on your cable bill, if you pay $150 a month, most of that is going back to the TV networks. So Disney and all those channels, Discovery, they're charging the cable operators to receive their content every month. So your monthly bill mainly goes straight to those TV networks. With us, it's different. We don't charge the cable operators. We're free. Yep. So we're free to them and we're free to the public. And so it's a good value proposition. They can kind of put their money where the mouth is and say, we really do stand up for sustainability, and they can launch Earthx TV because it's free.
Indeed. And so, Michael, what else? What can we expect in the future? What new things? What else is going on with Earthx in terms of expanding its impact in the whole green environmental and sustainability sphere?
Yes, education is really important to us, and we are looking for ways to expand what we do into some of the new areas. And I'll give you an example, NFTs. So NFTs and cryptocurrency, part of blockchain, that's all really very much high-minded intellectual stuff that's somewhat above my understanding, but I do understand a little bit of it. And there is a movement right now in the environmental space to create environmentally themed NFTs. And what that means is that you will soon see artwork by famous artists that are all digital NFTs, and they'll be used to raise money for environmental causes. So we're actually looking at, getting involved in that. We're doing some neat things like we're producing these 2 TV shows that are filmed in South Africa, and they're about wildlife conservation there, saving the lions and the rhinos. And we have one that's hosted by a 10-year-old girl. And so we're trying to reach youth and educate them in that way. We have a lot of exciting things going on.
I wanted to just for a moment back to NFTs, which we all see thrown around. And I think the same thing happens to that term and that sphere, that is NFTs, as perhaps used to happen when people came out with environmental issues, things like that. And what that thing is people glazed over. I think, thank God, environmental issues are no longer in that realm. They're not where they need to be, but at least people don't glaze over anymore. But a lot of us are still doing that with NFTs. So what that mean, again, connecting the dots, what that mean for people in their everyday lives? It's like an investment in environmentally themed art, or what? It
is. And so I'll give you an example. Let's say that there's a famous artist who's an environmentalist. Then someone could commission them to create an NFT piece of artwork, a digital artwork that then could be, it would be one of a kind that an art collector could collect, and they could collect that one of a kind artwork and save it until it grew in value, and it could be sold or auctioned off, and the money could be donated to an environmental cause. So that's kind of the way that works. You know, a lot of NFTs have sold for millions, even tens of millions of dollars, and we think that there's a space for that.
Okay, that's interesting. So an ordinary person who really wanted to invest could do that?
Sure. Yeah, and we're not, of course, giving investment advice, but
right. But you're going to make it happen. That's the point.
Yeah, exactly. We see it as a path for raising money for good causes. That's the bottom line. And I do want to say that with any kind of cryptos or NFTs, there is an environmental concern because there's a huge amount of computing that takes place to mine cryptos and to create these NFTs. So we are conscious of that. You know, we're going to make sure we do it the right way with the right partners.
Indeed. And again, thank you, Michael. You are just so good at connecting the dots. And I want to go back and summarize it because people may not have caught it. Because I always like to ask of everything, so why should people care?
Right.
Why should I care about this? And you made that clear to me. Again, I want to go back over. In terms of your involvement and the impact you all are making by commissioning the artwork for the NFTs, is that it raises money. It's an investment. It grows in value. It raises money, which then organizations like yourself can put back in the community for these ground impact types of activities.
Absolutely. That's spot on.
Now, moving back, and I know I'm going back and forth a little bit, but moving back to the expo, and you named a lot of things that were going on out there, and I want to know what you consider to be some of the not-to-be-missed events.
Well, that's kind of like saying which of your children do you like the best, right? But no, there's a lot of great events. For instance, and these are all open to anyone who wants to attend or register. We have an event going on at Gilley's, which, is a popular venue, and that's going to be on Friday night. And that event will be focused on wildlife conservation, on ranching, agriculture. It will have a reception or kind of dinner associated with it. There'll be music. There'll be a lot of activities. Who
is the target audience for that event?
People who enjoy the outdoors. So folks who it can run the range of people who like to hunt, who are responsible hunters and believe in wildlife conservation. It can run to just people who have ranches and farms, folks who like to camp and enjoy the outdoors. There'll be a nice mix and crowd of people who are outdoors people there at that event.
Now, earlier, too, you were mentioning some of the other things that you all were doing, and you were mentioning the South African TV shows?
Yes.
With children.
Correct. Yeah.
How did that come into being, and when do we get ours here?
Yeah, exactly. So, the TV show's now airing, and it's
Excuse me for just a minute, Michael. I apologize.
Yeah.
I looked up, and we've got to go to break. So when we come back on the other side, we will be right back with Michael Fletcher, CEO of Earthx, and he's going to tell us about the TV shows they're producing that are hosted by children in South Africa. We want to give a shout-out now to our sponsors. That is Natural Awakenings, Dallas-Fort Worth Metroplex Magazine, the Green, Healthy, and Sustainable Living Authority for the DFW Metroplex and North Texas communities. Print issues of Natural Awakenings can be found in all Whole Foods markets, natural grocers, Central Market, Sunflower Shops, and many, many other locations, as well as available free for download online at nadallas.com. Check them out. Our other sponsor is North Haven Gardens, serving the Metroplex since 1951, the most respected horticultural establishment in North Texas, offering gardening and plant education, concierge services, DIY classes, gifts, and more. Check them out at nhg.com. And our other sponsor is Lynn Dental Care, practicing dentistry for over 38 years with a holistic approach, non-mercury, looking at the whole body. Specializing in periodontics, Dr. Lynn is board certified by the International Academy of Oral Medicine and Toxicology. Check them out at lindentalcare.com. Thank you, sponsors. Welcome back to Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio today. To today's show on Earth Day 2022, Investing in Our Planet. And we are back with Michael Fletcher, CEO of Earthx. And Michael was just about to tell us how they came about the two shows they're doing in South Africa that are hosted by children, and he's going to let us know when we're going to be able to do that same thing here in North Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. This show is called Kids in Conservation, and the way we end up producing it is we hired a producer there to produce another show about wildlife conservation, and he said, I have this incredibly talented daughter, Brooke, who's 10 years old, and we want to do a show with her. And we checked her out, and she was awesome. And so she hosts the show, and she actually films it all over, not just in South Africa, but it's all about, saving different animals and relocating them. And yes, we absolutely are going to do a similar show here in the States that are pretty exciting.
It is exciting. It really is. And again, I hope people understand how they can plug into it and really what it means for all of us in terms of what you all do, but also in terms of, we like to say here, making us smarter. Because as we're smarter, we're able to, I think, more quickly see those investments we can make and then to be very intentional about doing them and getting others to do them as well. Now, I want to talk just a minute about the film festival that you all are doing. And it's going to be in previous, I think the last time you all had an expo, which seems like a lifetime ago now, I think the film festival was part of it. But it's going to be a little different and be at a different time this year. You want to tell us about this?
Yeah, absolutely. And so this year, it will not be connected to the expo. It's going to be held May 12th through the 15th. And it will be in the Dallas Arts District. We have over 70 films we're going to screen. We had over 300 entries for films. We just couldn't show all of them, but some really neat films. And our first night is dedicated to Texas. And we're going to be screening a film that's narrated by Matthew McConaughey. And we'll have, all kinds of activities. We'll have music performances. We will have, of course, all kinds of food. We're going to have compost stations set up different places. And so it's going to be a great event. We'll run the entire time, be held in different buildings down in the Arts District and, of course, outdoors. So be a really fun, exciting event.
Yeah, so it's going to be just spread across all those venues, and I guess we can go to the website to see.
Yeah, you can go to earthx.org, and it will give you a link to the film festival, or you can just Google Earthx Film Festival, and it will pull up.
Now, can you get where you buy a package to see all the films, and then you do a la carte and things like that?
Yeah, you can buy day passes. You can, of course, buy a pass for the entire festival. Some of the passes include, some of the special events like music concerts and food packages and all that. But it's all there. And, of course, 100% of the proceeds just go to support our nonprofit work, and it's going to be a lot of fun.
Any famous names you want to let out on the concerts or in some of our other films, too? We've got Matthew McConaughey. Elon Musk is official Texan.
Elon is. And believe me, we would have loved to have had him for our expo this year, but he's pretty busy opening that Giga plant, which they just opened. But we do plan on engaging with him in the future. In terms of the expo, we do have some artists that are being finalized. Now, they're performing artists, and they will be announced very soon on the website. So I'd say stay tuned.
You know, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was just having a conversation with someone else, and we were talking about various folks who, again, were leaning forward in terms of green, environmental, and sustainability in various industries. And you don't hear a lot about them in terms of the recording artists. You know, you've got a number of actors and actresses who are on the world stage as being proponents. Mm-hmm. In fact, in previous years, Earthx used to have a gala where they would honor Hollywood types for their activism and speaking up. Yeah. Are y'all doing that again this year? Or?
Well, we're not this year. And a lot of the reason is because, you know, not all the states are open like Texas. Mm-hmm. Even right now, it's been difficult to get some folks to attend from like New York and California and other places. So I think next year will be a different story. But, yeah, we're still kind of on the trails of COVID, unfortunately.
Yeah, back to my question do you know of any recording artists who are activists in the whole environmental sphere, or who hold themselves out?
Yeah, I mean, there have been some over the years, you know, some of the members of Aerosmith, as an example. Steven Tyler, he's, you know, been really focused on environmental causes. Texas legend Willie Nelson, you know, he's got his vegetable bus, you know, that became famous for running on vegetable oil. And he's concerned about the environment in some ways. And you know, one of our beliefs is no one does it perfectly. I mean, Earthx doesn't do it perfectly as an organization, but we do believe in rewarding good behavior. So when we see these recording artists and others that, yeah, maybe they do fly around on their private jet, and that could be something we can find fault with in some ways, but let's reward them for the great things they're doing, because there are areas where they're really making a difference.
It is. And as I kind of alluded to in the intro to the show, most changes and transformations in the green, sustainable, and environmental community take a lot of time just slogging it out. They don't happen overnight. But I would say most of us agree that we're beginning to see that requisite lead time shorten.
Sure.
It's a point where things are beginning to progress a little bit quicker.
Yeah.
That's rewarding.
It is. And it, you know, starts sometimes with just a child's voice or someone else. You know, my own story, my grandkids, when we sold the radio, our TV station, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, if I was ready to retire or what I was going to do. And I like I said, I had met Trammell, was talking. And so I said one night at the table, my grandkids were there, and I said, you know, I told them the story about Trammell and said, I don't know if I want to do this or not. My grandkids said, Papa, you should do this. You've been in media your entire life, and this is your opportunity to make a difference, and you should do it. And I did. And, you know, I made adjustments in my lifestyle, too. You know, I drive an electric car now. I used to not. And those were personal choices I made. But, you know, it started with my grandkids. Indeed.
And I like to hear that said, too, because I've also, unfortunately, heard people say the opposite. I was in a meeting, and a lady said the opposite. She got jumped on. So why should I care about environmentalism? I won't be here. And all the rest of the ladies immediately said, well, what about your grandkids?
Right. Yeah. Absolutely.
So it does make a difference. Yeah. I wanted to talk with you a little bit about, I noticed in some of y'all's literature somewhere that you were, or you may have said it, that you all were adopting or working with some of the specific UN development goals, I think of the 17.
Right.
Tell us about that. Which ones did you pull out that you've adopted? Why did you pull out those, and what are we doing with them?
Well, you know, we do support all of the 17 SDGs, but I think, you know, the 17th SDG that really speaks to working and creating partnerships, bringing people together to our common goals. That's the one that we're the most focused on right now. And we want to be a connector, a connector in Washington to bring the sides together, a connector everywhere.
Any others that you focused on?
Well, I do want to say, Bernice, that we're proud of the fact that we are being a driver this year on Earth Day, and we put a challenge out in the Metroplex to, on Earth Day, go green. So places like the Reunion Tower, they're turning their lights on green, and they're going to turn the ball into a globe. Omni Hotels going green. They're going to have our logo up on the side on I-30. Bank of America, Hunt Building, One Arts Plaza, AT&T, 1900 Pearl. We've got a number of buildings that are going to be lit up green, and we're putting that challenge out across the Metroplex on Earth Day. So it's those little things, right, that can really have a big impact.
They do, because people will drive by, why is that building green? Or they will see it, and then they will be sensitized to pay more attention to everything that's going on. Michael, we have 1 minute to go, and I am going to let you have the last word before we go.
Well, thank you, Bernice. I will keep it short. First of all, I appreciate you having me on your platform, and it's a great honor to be able to speak with you and other folks. But I just want to encourage everyone to take a minute out of every day and be present from the standpoint of what we can do each day to make someone's life better with respect to our planet and saving the planet and building a future. And it's those little things that count. Please come to our website, earthx.org, see how you can get involved, come to our events, make a difference, and I hope to see a lot of folks there.
Thank you so much, Michael. We've been with Michael Fletcher, CEO of Earthx. We thank you very much for being with us today, Michael.
Thank you. It's my honor.
And thank you, audience, for listening in today to Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio. The conversation starts here, but our goal is for it to continue in your home, in your social circles, your workplaces, at the water cooler, and in the grocery checkout line, so that we can all work together to realize that healthy living is simply not possible without a healthy planet. Our culture is a result of a trillion tiny acts taken by billions of people every day, like yourself. And each of those tiny acts can seem insignificant, but all of them add up, one way or the other, to the change we each live through. This is your host, Bernice Butler. Thank you for listening today, and join us again next week for more Healthy Living, Healthy Planet Radio, our April Earth Day celebration shows. Thank you.